boss man. Can't you hear me when I call? Big boss man.
Imagine waking up one morning to this headline: 16 American ships sunk in surprise attack. The fine print tells you that this disaster was the result of strategic error. You'd probably want to know a little more. In 2000, the United States Joint Forces Command conducted the most complex and most expensive wargame in history, Millennium Challenge. With a price tag of $250 million and using the most advanced computer simulation technology available, Millennium Challenge pitted the United States Blue Team against a Red Team, representing an imaginary rogue military commander somewhere in the Persian Gulf. Under David and Goliath-like conditions, the Blue Team demanded the Red Team to surrender. But the Red Team struck first with a fusillade of missiles, an attack coordinated by antiquated methods like use of motorcycle couriers and small PT boats. If it had been a real war, 20,000 American servicemen and women would have been killed before their own army had even fired a shot. Millennium Challenge played out like a real-life version of the Star Trek movie First Contact, which also tells a David and Goliath story of a mismatched face-off. On one side is a technologically superior, ultra-rational force, the Borg.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
On the opposing side is a weaker, scrappier force with erratic emotional motives.
They invade our space, and we fall back. They assimilate entire worlds, and we fall back. Not again. The line must be drawn here! This far, no farther!
Millennium Challenge sprang from the Pentagon's desire to approach the future of war in a more Borg-like fashion. Rational, linear, scientific, and most of all, highly organized.
I am the Borg.
Do you control the Borg Collective?
You imply a disparity where none exists. I am the collective.
The purpose of this exercise was to prove that the most powerful weapon we now possess is what business culture calls MIS, Management Information Systems, that integrate data and modeling into decision-making. For the Blue Team, the key source of MIS was the OPN, or Operational Net Assessment, a formal decision-making tool that enabled commanders to study the enemy's PMISI, that is, their political, military, economic, social infrastructure. Blue commanders had EBO, or effects-based operations, to guide them into targeting beyond only military assets. They also had something called CROP, or Common Relevant Operational Picture, a real-time map of the combat situation, as well as tons of other information. The point of Millennium Challenge was to prove that MIS could take the mystery out of war. Napoleon wrote that a general never knows anything with certainty, never sees his enemy clearly, and never knows positively where he is. The enemy Red Team commander was retired General Paul Van Riper. General Van Riper describes the history of military strategy as an attempt to attain the simplicity of the first battles. The only uncertainty was who would attack first. However, Van Riper says that even with the game of chess, where you can see everything on the board, you still can't see what the other guy's thinking. For thousands of years, experience-based intuition has been the best weapon against uncertainty, until now. A senior official said about Operation Net Assessment, the key MIS tool for the Blue Team, that it was supposed to allow us to see all, to know all. General Van Riper and Star Trek Captain Picard not only look a little bit alike, but share similar management styles. Van Riper did not traffic with MIS. It contradicted his leadership philosophy of being in command and out of control. Whenever he heard gunfire in the jungles of Vietnam, Van Riper says that he would first look at his watch. He knew that he was going to do nothing for 5 minutes. He says, "You've got to let people work out the situation and work out what's happening. The danger in calling is that they'll tell you anything to get you off their backs, and if you act on that and take it at face value, you could make a mistake. Plus, you are diverting them. Now they are looking upward instead of downward. You're preventing them from resolving the situation." Van Riper explains that in command and out of control means that the overall guidance and the intent were provided by him and the senior leadership, but the forces in the field wouldn't depend on intricate orders coming from the top. They were to use their own initiative and be innovative as they went forward. This approach enables rapid cognition. Meanwhile, the Blue Team's MIS-driven strategy required discussion, long meetings, reports, emails. The Blue Team had a system in place that forced commanders to stop and talk things over and figure out what was going on. This strategy left them ill-equipped to react to surprise. They were too busy analyzing. General Van Riper says that when he heard about the Blue Team's complicated charts, he thought, wait a minute, you were doing this while you were fighting? Under his in command and out of control strategy, Van Riper's team could react independently, instinctually, and immediately.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
Another problem with the MIS-driven strategy is the impact of having too much to think about. The Blue Team had a database with 40,000 entries. Meanwhile, once the hostilities began, Van Riper kept his meetings short and limited communication between headquarters and field commanders. The principles of in command and out of control are simple. Experience informs command decisions. For example, Picard had once been captured by the Borg. Later, he calls upon that experience to ignore valuable MIS data.
This is Captain Picard of the Enterprise. I'm taking command of the fleet. Target all of your weapons onto the following coordinates. Fire at my command.
Sir, the coordinates you have indicated do not appear to be a vital system.
Trust me, Data.
The control part of in command and out of control is all about trusting how a command can create a self-regulating feedback loop. Think of a singer telling the audience, everybody put your hands together. If you tell a group of people to clap in unison, they will typically be erratic at first, but they will quickly adjust based on what they all hear. The control is the product of self-regulation. A final principle is purpose. General Van Riper recommends that managers stamp the words "in order to" on every command. Before telling everyone, put your hands together, the singer says, let's get this party started. Clap in unison in order to create a festive atmosphere. These three elements, experience, feedback, and purpose, are evident in First Contact's secondary plot. The crew is separated from the captain and the ship, but they must independently complete a second initiative. They have traveled into the past to convince the inventor of warp-drive space travel to complete his maiden voyage. Commander Troy establishes trust through unconventional means based on her experiential wisdom.
So don't go criticizing my counseling techniques.
Feedback tells them that this inventor is not the brave hero they studied in history class. So Commander Riker modifies his perception and adjusts his approach.
We don't have time for this.
All of this serves the purpose of getting the inventor onto that spaceship, and to assure that first contact occurs. Meanwhile, the Borg Queen is depending on her best MIS, that she can control the android Data by playing into his desire to become more human.
Do you know what this is, Data?
It would appear you were attempting to graft organic skin onto my endoskeletal structure.
Ironically, it turns out that Data has been engaging in the very human behavior of lying by deceiving the Queen into believing that her MIS about him was correct.
Data!
Resistance is futile.
Humanity turns out to be the most effective weapon. Van Riper said that he and his team relied mainly upon wisdom, experience, and good judgment. The Blue Team thought they had something more effective, and, in essence, dehumanized themselves.